Okay, welcome back. I have another series of K7000s here in this box. This was sent to me by a longtime fellow arcade enthusiast who's been collecting almost as long as I have. And he said he had three K7000s that he had no need for, wasn't interested in fixing them up, didn't need them, didn't want them. Would I be interested? I said absolutely. So he sent me three K7000s here. I don't know if they're 2519s, I don't know the conditions, things like that. So we're going to open this up, we're going to take a look and see what condition they're in, what we can do with these, see what we can figure out. But I'm going to do all this in one long video, as opposed to doing three separate videos. I've got so many K7000 videos already. I thought it might be interesting to see if maybe there's something special about these that's worth showing, but also I want to see how quickly I can get all three of them up and running. So this is going to be a long video, whether it's going to be 5 hours, 3 hours, 8 hours, I don't know. We're going to try and get all three of these done in one long video, and I'll put timestamps to skip to stuff in the post editing there if there's something like you want to skip through the cap kit or something like that. So I may not film the cap kits because we've already seen, I got a G07 video which I'll link down below where you can watch me do a whole cap kit in real time, and the method is all the same. You don't have to, there's nothing special about any particular chassis when it comes to doing the cap kits, so I'll link that down below if I can remember to do that. And otherwise, yeah, we're going to go through these one at a time, inspect them, see what they need, get them working and fixed up in one long video. So that being said, let's open this up and see the condition. I am a little concerned because they sound pretty loose in there, so you know, might be in for some broken pots, as we always are, in which case I have some sets of pots that we can use to remedy that, but we'll see here. Oh, well, did I say broken pots? Did I say may have broken pots? I'm pretty sure that looking at this, we're going to have broken pots. Yeah, these aren't protected in the slightest. H-hold pot. Well, that cap has been... So this is what happens when you ship these things without any kind of protection like that, is you get things like this. This cap leg is pulled all the way out completely. So, yeah. But H-hold pot, if that's not broken, that's not broken. I am flabbergasted. This particular one looks like it's had a cap kit, but not sure where the kit came from. It's got a new flyback, different replacement shutdown pot. Width cap has been changed, and it looks like so has the HOT with some oddball insulator. And is this a 2-amp fuse? It is a 2-amp fuse, so that's okay. I don't see any missing parts on this one. So this one's complete. What's the bottom look like? Not bad. Not too bad at all. Someone's gone through and tried to do the reinforcements here that I do for our R100, I think it is. R101, yeah. It's been a while since I've worked on the 7000, but okay, well this one's complete. Is there a remote board? There is. Any broken pots? I don't believe it. I mean, I have to believe it. I'm looking right at it, but all this shifting around in here with no protection, I can't believe there's no broken pots. That's amazing. Well, looks like I'm eating my words there on the first one, but we have a complete 7000 here. Neckboard pots, any of those broken? I can't believe it, no. Wow. Okay, neckboard looks okay. And as expected, there are lifted traces. That's a broken one. So this transistor here has a broken trace right here, which is common. What about green is fine, and I think this is blue, so it's red, green, and blue. And blue is intact, looks like just like the red one here is the main culprit, so or main victim, I should say. So one complete 7000 just needs a good going over, and who knows, maybe an easy one. Okay, next one. Oh, okay. We're going to be in for a treat, I think, on this one. This has the alternate remote board. Now, with this remote board, you can actually just completely remove this wiring here. It's got a couple of redundant. You can see here that there is a black level adjustment here. There should also be a pot here for brightness, and yeah, it looks like they've all been removed. All these extra pots here have been removed. There should be one for horizontal hold, should be there. I believe vertical hold, brightness. Yeah, and then the other one on here, you have H position, vertical position, and horizontal position. I forget, but there should be 2 or 3 other pots on here, including brightness, and they're all missing. So you can just simply, if you want to, you can remove this completely, desolder the wires from the board, populate all the pots, and you don't even need this anymore if you don't want to use this. So anyway, we might end up doing that because I don't like these. I don't know. We'll find out. But it looks like someone has also recapped this one, but they stole the flyback. And I don't know if this is evidence here of arcing or not, but that's not a good sign there. Linearity coil needs glued back in place. Horizontal linearity coil, that is. I didn't mention that this one's a 25-inch because it's got the larger resistor here on the side, and it looks like this one here is also 25-inch. But other than the filter cap, our thermistor for our degauss circuit is broken, so I have to replace that. But this is, it just finally completely came apart here. The coating, there's a coating that goes on here that keeps this secure. The coating is all gone, so this one's got a bad thermistor for our degauss circuit. Looks like, just offhand, it's also missing the fuse. It's missing the filter cap. That cap is bent all to hell. It's missing the remote pots here. It's missing the wires. All apparently got yanked out of here. It's missing the connector. This got yanked out. All the wires are gone. The pins are still in there, so that's no good. And a flyback. So there's not any reason why we can't bring this one back to life. Apparently just needs some parts. They got an oddball. Must have been hooked up to a non-isolation transformer, because this is an oddball diode there, and yeah, it's definitely been replaced. The rest of them have not. Someone's replaced the thermistor too with, I guess, one that wasn't good. I don't know what happened with that, but so I have to replace that diode. Maybe not have to, but I want to. So complete, other than the missing parts and no neck board. Oh, here it is. And it looks like we have this connector that plugs in down here, but the other 5 wires that go from here to here, the harness is missing. And any broken pots on this neck board? No, I'm flabbergasted how that could possibly be. Any bad traces on this one? Oh yeah. Well, no, those are connected still, but they're loose, and the blue is just folded over, but it's secure. Okay. Well, this one's complete minus the missing parts and the harness, which maybe it's in here. I don't see it. No, well, we can put some wires in there. It won't be a quick disconnect, but we can put some wires in there. And it looks like, last but not least, we've got this one that is also a 25. And see, here's how the thermistor should look. It should have this coating on there that helps keep those connections from coming off of it. But This one here looks to be complete. Let's make sure the fuse is a 2 amp. Yep, 2 amp, okay. Oh, that doesn't look good. We'll maybe have to clean that up. And it's been capped also with Nichicon, so that's good. May be able to salvage this without having to do a cap kit, but the 3 bipolar caps have not been changed, so we can change those. I have plenty of those. Contrast pot has been replaced with some kind of jury-rigged setup there. It was weird. Any pots broken on this one? Holy crap, no. This is the first time in the history of humanity where someone has shipped multiple chassis in a box without protection and no pots broken? I don't believe it. What about the neck board? Last bastion for hope here of a broken pot. I'm not hoping for one, but you know what I mean. No. Unbelievable. Wow. And all the parts are here for this one. Oh, someone's done repair on this already. Those are good for these, I should say. So, wow. Okay, I can't believe it. So here we have 3 complete 7000s. Well, minus some parts on this one. So complete with an asterisk next to it. Asterisk, however you want to say it. I think it's asterisk. I don't know. I'm not an English major, so. Well, there we have it, 3 of them. What do we want to do first? I think this one is complete, so we'll set that aside. And this one is complete, so we'll set that aside. I want to start with this one here that is rather derelict. Because I think those other ones will be a bit easier to get up and running. Okay, how do we want to start with this? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply just remove this thing. Let's zoom out a little bit more. Okay, what I want to do is remove this whole thing here because I don't like this. It's redundant. It's not necessary. You can just put the pots directly on the board and you don't got to worry about any of that. So let's remove this completely. So we'll start with this one. And I have pots to put in here, and I'll show you what it takes to get these alternate pots installed. That one runs through there. Got to wick that up there. Okay. So I got to put some alcohol on here to clean up or get that hot glue off of there. Should just come right off now. Yep, there it goes. And the wire should come out. There we have it. So that's all you have to do. You know, if you want to hang on to it and reinstall it later, you can, but I don't like this thing, and here's what I'm doing with it.
I don't like this thing, and here's what I'm doing with it.
So, okay, with that removed, we can worry about putting the pots in later, but let's just go through, and right now I want to put a screw in this thing, because this is bothering me. And that alcohol got on the bottom of the chassis. Now it's all sticky from the flux. Okay. How do we want to proceed? Well, it's been capped. I don't like this cap kit. I don't even know what brand of caps these are. That's a Nichicon, but these ones over here, this is like from. These don't even have a brand name on them. Look, these don't even have a brand name on them. Hang on, I'll show you here. I don't know what's going on there. That's weird. Is that wrapped around there? Did they wrap it around there? Come on. There we go. There's not even a brand name on these caps. Or maybe? I don't know what this is. They got 160/47, 105 degree ED. There's an M there. 12 MDL. I don't even know what these are. So, yeah, well, I'll go ahead and recap this because I got plenty of cap kits. But so the caps, I don't know what's going on with those. Filter cap. I don't think I actually have any filter caps. Any spare ones. These are actually, you know what? These are 560s. Let me see here. Plenty of replacement pots, but a bunch of 470s for polos. Some 680s, I think, here for Geo7s. Yeah, these are all 680s for Geo7s. These are 4700s for power supplies. Here's more 680s, and I can use a 680, but I don't want to. That's a 470 also, and another 270 and 270. These are for the 7400s, 7500s, 2000s, 5000s. Anything else? Oh, I think this may be an Ian Kellogg kit, because these Ian Kellogg kits, yeah. See, these are the same type of caps with the no-name brand on there. I don't know, but it might be an Ian Kellogg kit. Yeah, I was pretty sure I don't have any 560s. These are 330s for power supplies. Yeah, I don't have any 560s. I can likely just rob one off of a parts chassis. I gotta pull parts off a parts chassis anyway for this stuff. So let's see if I have one in the parts closet here. Here you go. But it doesn't look like I have a thermistor. I do have a filter cap here. Yeah, they're 560. But we can grab this filter cap and, yeah, don't waste your time with desoldering guns and stuff, because you saw I had that out in 2 seconds. Just back and forth, it falls right out. I'll hang on to that if there's anything else we need for the moment. And, hey, look at that! We also have our replacement cable. So yeah, I've got, I don't know, half a dozen 7000s that I got as part of a lot, and I knew I was going to have some replacement parts around, so I think I fixed a couple of them, and the other 4 or so I just threw in the parts closet over here for situations like this. So let's get all this old solder off of this thing, and just for our own knowledge, let's put this in the component tester and see what it reads. Okay. So we got positive connected to number 1, negative connected to number 2, and out of curiosity, I just want to see what this reads here. Is it 560 or close to it? 505, close enough. So, and of course this is not an ESR meter, so it does say ESR on there, 0.39 ohm, which is fine, but it's not a true ESR meter. But this should work enough to make it operate, so I'm not going to worry about it. We'll go ahead and install it. As, you know, as long as it doesn't read some kind of way crazy number, you know, like 200 or so, we'll be fine on that. So nothing really to worry about there. Positive is right there. So we can put that like that, and it goes right in. All right. And I got distracted a little bit. I meant to put a screw in the heatsink for the HOT and got distracted. That's your fault. It's not my fault. That's your fault. Not so much you, but you, right there. This guy right there, and it's your fault. And I'm gonna, just for aesthetics, I'm gonna just close these up here. You don't have to do this, but I like to have it closed up a bit. Okay. Well, with that done, we can put a screw in this, which is always fun trying to figure out what'll fit in there. 2000. August 3rd, 2000. 24 years ago. And over time it found its way to me. All right, that worked out. Okay, put this back. Okay, well, we got to find a thermistor, and I want to fix this cap here that's been flattened down. And make sure the legs aren't touching, which they're not. Okay. And I'm not going to recap it before we try to see if the light bulb test works. I just need to put in a fuse, replace that cap, which I could just put this one back in there. And then I don't need a thermistor, but I just want to see, or I just want to replace it anyway since we're here in the, oh, and this diode. That's not a diode that I want to use. Is that even... I don't even know if it's good. I don't care if it's good. I'm going to just take it out anyway. And I need to grab a 1N4007, which will work just fine. And we'll get that replaced. So I need the 1N4007 diode, and I need a thermistor. And you may look at this and think that the resistor is burned up. Well, it's not. It's heat off the thermistor. The thermistor, as part of the degauss circuit, has direct 115 going right through it, and it gets very hot, and it causes the discoloration and burn marks on the resistor there for R104. It doesn't mean the R104 is bad. It's just the heat from that thermistor where it should be sitting up straight, and it's been folded over and it's in direct contact with that resistor, which also makes it heat up, and it causes that. So that's not anything to worry about unless it's black. I mean, that's just brown. But if it's straight up black, then you might want to think about replacing it even if it tests good. So, of course, if you clean it and it comes clean, that's one thing. But if you clean it and it's still black, you might want to replace it just for security's sake. So let's see if I can find a thermistor and a 1N4007 diode, which I know I got the diode. But the thermistor might be a little bit more tricky. I got more... Actually, you know what? Why am I talking about... I got one here I could steal. And it's the same one. Let's just do that. But I need to find a thermistor on another 7000, and look at that. Again, it pays to have extra parts on hand. And I mean, you can obviously just order one once you go in the manual and find the part number and order one that's equivalent for today. But if you got spare parts on hand like this, you got it made in the shade. Okay, thermistor. So it should be something like that where it's not touching the R104. And when you do your reflow on the 7000, the feet here, the legs for the thermistor, are notorious for getting cracked and broken. not the traces, but the joints get dry and brittle, and over time your degal circuit doesn't work because your R105 thermistor is out of circuit. And then now we can replace this diode, get the cap back installed, and then we can try our light bulb test after we test our components to verify nothing's wrong. And then we can proceed on with everything else. So this is a parts chassis, so never do what I'm doing here, because A, you'll damage your iron, and also you'll damage the pads and traces and stuff on your board. But this is a parts board that's never going to be brought back to life. So ideally you'd want to use something like this to bend the feet straight so you can take the diode out. But so don't be like me.
Like Mike, if I could be like Mike. Oh, if I could be like Mike.
Then we'll flatten out these legs so we can get this inserted more easily. And make sure you put it in with the stripe facing toward the right, the way the silk screen is showing. And even after straightening out the legs, it still wants to fight you. There we go. And make sure it's sitting flat when you solder it in. So we'll do one side, press on it so it's flat. That's good. Now the other one. All right, let's grab a fuse and put this back in this way. Actually, I might as well let me just grab a new one here. I got I've got a bunch of these here, 47. And I'll just replace the one I stole here from my stash with the one from the kit. And yeah, I gotta clear this out of here. I just prefer the desoldering braid. It's just so much easier and faster, and you have to clean up anyway after you solder all your new stuff in, so you might as well just use the braid. Now this stuff's somewhat relatively expensive, like 50 bucks a roll, but it lasts you forever. I mean, you're not going to go through all of it, you know, that quickly. But I'm not a fan of the desoldering unless you're taking out, okay, if you're taking out ICs and stuff through whole components like this, you know, on motherboards and old computers and stuff, absolutely desoldering gun. But for something like this, you don't really need a desoldering gun. Just get you some nice braid. This is what I use. And, you know, then you don't really have much else. It just makes it so much easier. All right. So there's that. And somebody has gone to great lengths to make a big solder bridge here, so we'll just repeat the process. It'll work, not a big deal. Remember, it's not a beauty contest. Make it look as good as you can, and if it's functional afterward, that's all it takes. I mean, if someone wants to judge you, they can judge you, but ultimately, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, I don't like to have my caps angled all cockeyed, so I want to make sure it's sitting there straight down. And like you know, I like to mark all of my caps so the next person that comes along knows it's been replaced. If it's not obvious, like it'd be obvious to me, or I mean pretty much probably any of you guys watching, that they've been changed, but for me I like to put that little bit of mark on there across the indentations in the top of the cap. But okay, I think that's everything for our power supply that I can see visually. I'd like to glue my linearity coil back down. It's loose. Little Gorilla Glue works great for that. It's going to put a little dollop in there. That should work. And always clean off. Always clean the end of this and look down in there and make sure you can actually see down through into the reservoir, because you don't want to close this up. You don't want to close this and have it glue itself inside the cap and you'll never get the cap off. This thing is bubbling up. Wipe it clean and it's just still there. I think I got a air bubble in there. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Okay. Gotta be careful you don't glue your lips shut when you do stuff like that. And ask me how I know. Okay, that's gonna work. As you can see from all this, this is what it takes to go through all these things. It takes a while. Take this cap, throw it away. Now I need a fuse. Actually, it might be better because I don't know the. Well, no, we're gonna check everything. No, let's play it right. I don't want to blow $3 here, quite literally. Let's just grab my circuit breaker. So I've said it before, but this is a 2 amp circuit breaker, slow blow circuit breaker, and the part number is 7277-2-2. The last number is the amperage. So if you want a 5 amp, it'd be -5, 10 amps, 10, 7 amp is 7, 7.5. So in this case, the last number there is the amperage. So we're going to use this just as a precaution. I mean, I don't expect any problems, but we're going to use that for testing. So let's go through, as I've said many times, but every time I go through this, we go through everything all together. Okay, we're going to go through our entire power circuit and verify that nothing is bad. Then we'll do our light bulb test. So we always start over here at R103. R103 should be 2.7 ohms. And if we go to R103, you can check the 2 pads on the bottom, or you can just touch the leg there to the top. So we're just going to touch the top here and touch the leg, and it reads 2.7. Perfect. Okay, now we go to R104. R104 should be 15 ohms. If it reads anything less than 15 ohms, it's a likelihood that one of our rectifier diodes is shorted, but if it reads 15 ohms, then all of these are good, and it reads 15 ohms, 14.9. But just so you can understand, we'll go to these rectifier diodes and we'll check D19. Good. D20. Uh-oh. I guess I'm wrong. Look at that. D20. Shh. Oh, hold on. Shorted. D21. Shorted. You know what that means is that this got hooked up to a non-isolation transformer setup and took out D20, D21. So D20, D21 always short when you hook this up and run this to a setup that does not have an isolation transformer. And I think that's what killed this. But I'm mystified because usually when these two are shorted, this reads like 6 ohms and it's reading 14.9. So that's mystifying. But this is a very good example of why you can't always rely on your readings, is that I would have immediately blown the fuse. If we powered this up and I hadn't checked those, the fuse would have gone and I would have eventually found it. But this is why, even though this reads okay, I always double check, and that's case in point. And there you go. So if we go back to ohms and check D20, 0.2, D21, 23 ohms. So, yep, Good thing I checked them. So D22, good. D24, good. And D23, good. So yeah, it's always D19. I'm sorry, it's always D20 and D21 will always be shorted. If you get one of these and you find those shorted, it wasn't hooked up to an isolation transformer. And if you have one of these and you don't hook up to isolation transformer, you're going to blow those two diodes. The fuse will pop, those two diodes will short, and you'll basically be running, your AC will be shorted directly. So that's what takes the fuse out before it takes out the circuit breaker in your house or wherever you have your machine. So we'll have to change those, but if we proceed on, R101, I like to check from the bottom side because the legs oxidize. So if we go to R101, it should be about 4.8 or 5K in circuit. Well, it's not even soldered in. They've got all this here, but it's not even soldered in. There we go. Jeez. Okay, we should looking for around 5K in circuit. And look at that, 5K. And this is a 6.5K ohm resistor, but in circuit, it's around 5K. So R101 is good. You're checking to make sure it reads roughly 5K, 4.2 to 5K. Anything wildly over that or open or whatever, then your chassis will be dead. R101 is critical for operation. So if we go to R88, I believe this one is, should be 1.8K. Yeah. R96 should be 1.8K. Yep, R97 should be 270 ohms. Yep, 272. R89 should be 3.9K. 3.857, that's good. We can check our voltage regulator by just going across the B plus resistor. We should get around 180 ohms. Yep, 179, which is good. Now that indicates that our voltage regulator is not shorted. It doesn't mean the voltage regulator is good, because I've had some of these that did that where the output was only 100 volts. Instead of 130 volts, the B plus was only 100 volts. Even though this checked okay, the regulator was faulty under load. So all this does is tell you that your regulator is not shorted. You won't know that it's good until you fire it up. So the regulator checks okay. And we'll check C38, our width cap, make sure that it's not shorted. And that's these 2 points here, and it reads in the mega ohm, hopefully, somewhere. Nope. Well, that's weird. Ultimately, you're only checking to make sure it's not shorted. You don't really care what the reading is as long as it's not shorted. So, and it's not. Okay, D18 is this diode down in here. We're going to check that, make sure it's not shorted. Negative lead goes to here, and it should be 0.45 or so. Yeah, 0.472. Is that all the normal culprits? Yeah, we'll check the HOT, obviously. Should be 0.47 voltage drop or so. Come on. 472, other leg. 472. Now we'll read across our critical safety cap. It's the big green four-legged beast in there. We'll go caddy corner across. Should be the same reading as the HOT. 472 and 472. And you don't have to, but we can check D13, D14, R91, R92. Those are the ones in there. And we're checking to make sure those aren't shorted because you'll have vertical collapse if you do. So D14, I believe, is here. That's good. D13, you swap your leads. I believe it's right here. That's good. And R91 should be 1.2 ohms. 1.6, close enough. And R91, I don't know which one's which. This one here is 1.6, the other one's right here, and it's 1.6, so that's fine. I believe that's everything that we need to check in our power circuit. But I never looked at the bottom here on the solder joints to make sure there's nothing bad. Power circuit all looks okay. All right, well, I think that'll work enough for us to do a light bulb test. So I'll clip onto there. And I'll clip on to there. And let's grab the light bulb and clip onto, I'll just go to here, and you clip onto the blue wire here on the side, right there. And if this works, Now normally you would remove the collector leg off the HOT to prevent the horizontal circuit from firing up, but we don't have a flyback installed, so we're not going to have any high voltage. But I think it'd probably be a wise idea to go ahead and do that, because I'm not sure what would get energized, even with no flyback, that I don't want to have energized. So just for the sake of safety and blowing something up that we don't want to blow up, we'll go ahead and remove this from the circuit. And I can already hear you guys saying, well, wait a minute, you forgot to replace D20 and D21. You're just going to blow your circuit breaker. Well, you would be correct, because I didn't. I got a little overzealous and completely forgot that we have to do that until just this very moment. So, okay, I'm telling you, don't get old. Don't get old, because it's not fun. Now, old's a relative term. I'm not going to say how old I am, but I'm not old. But all right, so that is the trace. That's the pad. I'll touch the pin. Okay, pin is still touching somewhere. Yeah, gotta do a little bit more desoldering here. Gump sat alone in a buggy marsh, totally motionless except for heart. Mud flowed up into Lump's pajamas, totally confused all the passing piranhas. He's Gump, he's Gump. What's with that hair? He's Gump, he's Gump, he's Gump. What's with that stare? Gump was a big celebrity. He told JFK that he really had to pee. He never feels too dumb because his mom always told him stupid is as stupid does. He's Gump, he's Gump. He's quite upset. I don't think those are the words. His buddy Bubba was a shrimp-loving man. His friend with no legs he called Lieutenant Dan. His girlfriend Jenny was kind of a slut. Went to the White House, showed LBJ his butt. And that's all I have to say about that. Okie dokie. Oh, that one's broken in half. Well, that would explain part of the problem. Okay, there's those two. Now, where do I find a couple more of those? Just so happens there's two right here. Okay. I said we're going to do this in real time here, so you're getting the full experience. This one. No? Yeah, D21, yeah. All these rectifier diodes, all these rectifier diodes, easy for me to say, are all the same part number, so you can pull them from any of the positions. It doesn't need to be a specific one. Looks like that one's been changed before because the legs are a bit short, but that's fine. I recall the time they found those fossilized mosquitoes, and before long they were cloning DNA. Now I'm being chased by some irate velociraptor. Well, believe me, this has been one lousy day. Jurassic Park is frightening in the dark. All the dinosaurs are running wild. Someone shut the fence off in the rain. I admit it's kinda eerie, but this proves my chaos theory. And I don't think I'll be coming back again. Oh no. You guys know the words. Don't act like you don't. I cannot approve of this attraction, 'cause getting disemboweled always makes me kind of mad. A huge Tyrannosaurus ate our lawyer. Well, I suppose that proves they're really not all bad. Okay, those are in. We'll just tack that one in. And that one. All right. That one, I'm gonna have to push that one through a bit. Okay. Let's make sure it's got continuity to the diode. Yep. All right. Let's make sure that our HOT is still free of its surly bonds of the joint. And it is. Okay. Now we're ready for... There's that diode that cracked in half. That makes sense because we're reading dead short on D20, but D21 read like 22 ohms because it was reading back through other stuff, and in reality it was completely cracked in half, or it should have read 0.0 also. But all right, now hook back up to our blue wire, hook back up to our frame, put our circuit breaker on here, and that's why I wanted to use the circuit breaker, because if I had forgotten to do that, it would have popped the breaker as opposed to blowing a fuse and wasting $3. So actually, let's go this way with it. All right, so I think that's it. Everything tested okay. Everything is in circuit. We've replaced everything that needs replaced. Let's go ahead and see what happens here. 1, 2, 3. There you go. What's our B plus read? Should be 130 volts. Okay, we'll go to the frame for ground. We'll touch our blue wire, and we get 128.5, which is going to be closer to 129.5 once we get an actual picture tube hooked up. This thing is a 60 watt incandescent bulb, which is a pretty good analog. I've said perfect analog in the past, but it's more likely it's pretty good in reality, because it ends up being about a volt or so, volt and a half lower than what it really reflects on the operation with the actual picture tube. So, okay, what's next here? Oh, and I want to point out something, because I have been bitten by this before. I don't want you guys to get bitten by this yourself, because you will really want to slap yourself upside the head, you know, or have Snoop upside your head.
Say Snoop's upside your head. Say Snoop's upside your head.
When you read R104, it reads our, 15 ohms. But if you forget to unplug your power connection and you go back to R104, it reads, oh, once again, I'm lying to you because we don't have a flyback installed, and I think this is not soldered in. Oh, no, it's not the HOT, it's because of the fuse. What We know our power supply is good now, so I can go ahead and put a fuse in here. Man, I am all out of whack today. It's because our fuse was missing. So now, if you go off and do all this and then forget to, if you go through and something's still not right, and you got to go through and probe some more stuff, if you accidentally leave your power connector plugged in, and we go to R104, see now it reads 12 ohms. And you'll think that R104 is bad. And as you see, it's going down 5, 4, 3, and eventually it gets to like 6 ohms. So if you go to test this and it reads 6 ohms, make sure you don't have this plugged in, because you'll see if I magically unplug the power connector, now it jumps back up to 14.7 or something. Yeah, see, 15 ohms, 14.9. So what's happening is you're reading back through the input circuit through your isolation transformer, which is what generates that lower ohm reading. So you'll think that you've got a bad R104 rectifier diodes or something bad, and it turns out you just forgot to unplug your power connector. Now, I speak from experience on that, so don't repeat what I did. But I wanted to put that out there now that I have the opportunity. So that's all the major players for the power circuit. So I think what we'll do is, let's put a flyback in it. Let's install pots. And then let's just try it out. I think that's probably going to be what we should do, because I'm not really sure there's much else we can do without just turning it on and trying it. I mean, for anything else that needs done, like to redo the cap kit, to go through here and do the reflow, and all that stuff, there's no need to show any of that, because I have 2 more of these to get to in this video, and I've already pretty much shown that 1,000 times in 1,000 other K7000 videos. But in the G07 video I linked below, you'll see how to do the cap kit and the reflow and stuff. On this one, I mean, I'll go ahead and tell you the strategic points you want to get are, well, I say that, but I don't know. I mean, how does this one look? That's all jacked up too. Well, I mean, maybe I'll do some rework on this just so you can see. But for the most part, you want to reflow everything in your power supply section. You definitely want to reflow your header pins, your D18, your C38, your thermistor, R103, R104, R89, R101. Those are the critical points you want to hit. You want to hit your video input header pins. You want to reflow, absolutely you want to reflow these 3 points here and these 3 points here, which are this ribbon cable, because those like to get very brittle also. You want to reflow your flyback if needed. Anything that you look over here and say, okay, there's not much solder there, it looks pretty dry, let me hit that. There's not much solder there, that looks pretty dry, let me hit that. But those are the main points you want to hit. So in that vein of talk, let's hit these up and make sure you don't create a bridge. We'll hit the other 3 on the opposite side, because I've seen almost every one of these 6 solder joints for both sides of this ribbon cable get very brittle. Also, Q10 right here, if Q10 is faulty or has bad joints, it will not turn on. That is this transistor right there. So we want to hit Q10. Make sure you don't create any bridges. And like I said, you want to hit your yoke header pins, which I just create a bridge there across those 2 points for D18. And we'll just do this here. Come on, I want to hit that other pad there. There we go. And then we bridge across the 2 wires that feed over to our vertical side. This resistor here is pretty weak, so we'll hit that. But yeah, let's just go through and do the critical points. Someone's already done the video input header pin. Someone's already done R104. R89, we can simply... So, in full disclosure here, I like to remove R89 and R101 completely from the circuit, because you got to clean up, they get very hot, and you got to clean up the legs of these components here. So there's R101 out, and R89, same story. I always remove these two components and clean the pads, because underneath, these get very hot. This one and this one get super hot. And the legs not only oxidize, but the pads oxidize. So underneath the solder joint may look okay, but underneath the joint, it can be a horror show. Severely oxidized, a brown solder pad, you know, all that. So I like to go through here and reflow, or remove, and then reflow and redo, completely redo the R89 and R101. So if we just remove the original solder from this leg of R89, that actually looks pretty good. So nothing bad about that. And again, someone's done rework on this already, but it looks like it's a little bit of a horror show going on here. So they've put a bunch of extra wires in here and unnecessary stuff, and yeah, see, they hooked around there for some reason. Let's get rid of all this crap. It's not necessary. I mean, if you want to reinforce it, that's fine, but it's not really necessary. Okay. But I mean, for what that is, that looks pretty decent. We're just checking to make sure our solder joints aren't all, our pads and traces and stuff aren't all beat up. So that's not bad. Even though the mask is gone, they filled it all in with solder. So I mean, that's not bad. One left over here is this. Now you can use the extra wires if you want, or the the component leg or whatever it was that was installed in there that I removed. You can do that. Like in this case, somebody has just moved the leg over from this cap and used that to reinforce this, which is fine. Come on. But I like to actually just put a big solder bridge across all these things. See, here's an instance where this joint, or this pad, was all kind of burned up there. I realize there's a glare on here, and I'm sorry. This is the amateur channel. So with that being said, I'm going to go through here, and the only real thing we have to polish up here with this sanding pen is this one here. And you want to just kind of go very careful across, like sweep it over so you don't damage and break the trace. But you also want to remove all of the oxidation and expose the copper so your new solder will stick to what's there. And I realize you can't see it yet, but we'll get there. Something like that. Now let's grab, this is actual real fiberglass in this pen, so you don't want to get it in your fingers, so I like to just grab this and get a little 1-inch bristle brush and bristle all that stuff right into the trash can. So, alright, so now with that done, we need to clean off the oxidation on, look at the legs here. See how brown they are? We want to clean all that off of there. Look at that. See, that's what you want. Both sides. Because if you have a bad connection on this stuff, it'll generate even more heat, because more resistance equals more heat, which equals more amps. Not necessarily in that order, but yeah, perfect. So, and then before we clean all this off, might as well do this one. And I'll link this down in the description as well, so you can get yourself one of these. And they do come with an extra, if you pop this cap off of here, there's an extra filament in there, so when this thing runs out, you can take the cap off, and there's one extra in there, but I've already used it. So you may look at the price of this and think, geez, that's expensive, but it does come with an extra refill cartridge. So, okay, so there's both of our resistors cleaned up. Let me brush all of this off into the trash can, because I've gotten this stuff in my arms and hands, and it's not fun. But okay. So now we'll get those back in there, and that'll pretty much complete the reflow that I just really want to show on camera here. I'll go back and redo all of it later. Let's just get this running and move on to the other two 7000s. And I'll come back and redo this one kind of off camera because it, you know, you get the general idea. But these are the critical components that you want to... What am I doing? You doofus. All right. Perfect. Now, if you want to reinforce this by putting a bridge across over to this one, you can. Just to kind of help the connection and do a little dissipation of extra heat, that's fine. R96 here is really bad. And sometimes when you reflow this stuff, you end up with a joint that looks like this, and it's not good. That joint is not good. Look at that. It's like a bubble around the leg. You don't want that. You don't want it to look like that. You don't want it to look like a bubble around the leg. So in this instance, you can just use your iron to scrape away the oxidation on the leg, and you can see that it changes to a nice good joint now. See that? So it's just, there's oxidation on these contacts or on these components that make the solder joint look like that. So you just scrape away with your iron and good to go. All right. A little bit of a tutorial there for you. So let's get this R101 in here, grab a flyback, and then we got to replace these pots, and we'll give this a try. Okay, that's through. There we go. Okay, now let's solder this in. And if you want to bend it over, you can, but it's not necessary. That looks really good there. And I mean, if you want to go ahead and just do the bridge across here, that works too. And as far as this leg of this cap, you want to fold it over, you can. I don't even really need to do that. I should just cut it off, but I mean, if you want to do it this way, you can. Okay, so there's that. Now this here, we'll just go ahead and solder that back in like that. And then this here, we can just kind of fold that down. And since we cleaned off the oxidation, we can just simply go like this and boom. There we have it. That's all you got to do. It doesn't look that great, but it does look better than it was, and with that, I think that'll cover all of our bases for just the basic reflow we got to do. And I'll come back and do everything complete later. And HOT is back in. I forgot that we have to remove this to replace it with the one from the donor chassis. Okay, I think that should come right out now. Not really even sure how something like this could happen. Well, you're loose. How come you're not coming out of there? Let's zoom out a bit. There we go. Had one stubborn pin. Okay, now we have to remove this one from here, which it looks like I've already done and put back in at some point. Nice and easy. that is in there correctly. Although this one's being a nuisance. There we go. There we go. Popped in, all right. And, you know, it's always a good idea to reflow all of these neck board interconnections too, because some of these can get pretty dry sometimes, but for the most part, they're not that bad. But like I say, I'll reiterate, just go over everything, and anything that you see that's dry or almost no solder at all, just yep, put a little more on there, you're good to go. So let's grab a flyback now, and we'll change these pots out, and got a brand new fly right here. And when you change these flybacks out, I just break these little feet off, because there's nowhere, they don't line up in these holes. So they do line up for the most part, but sometimes it's very difficult to get them to line up. I mean, they don't serve any real purpose. They're not going to prevent this from moving. So I just break them off to make this installation so much easier, and watch what happens here. Boom. Easiest flyback install ever. So, yeah. Okay, now we'll hit this. You don't need a ton of solder on these. Just make sure the hole is filled. That's all you need. You don't got to go crazy over this. Just make sure that the hole is filled. That's all you got to do. I've actually seen it before. I've seen it before where someone used so much solder that it actually went through the hole down under the flyback and created a bridge across 2 pins underneath the flyback. So don't be one of those people. So there's that. Now let's clear off all the solder from these holes for these pots. And not sure what's going on with that. We'll have to verify that one is a 10K. I believe contrast is 10K. Open. Yeah, you'll see once we power this up and get it running that you don't need that remote board at all. Just putting the pots directly in the board. You know, if you want to use the remote board, you can, but you know, whatever situation you have where it's inconvenient for you to try and adjust it from the backside of the cabinet, you know, if you don't have a mirror or something like that, then you know you can use the remote board. But I don't like those remote boards. They get on my nerves. The connections fail. The pots are bad. I just don't like them. So I always remove them and just put the pots right on the board here like this. Okay, good enough. And I want to reflow this transistor here. Okay. Now let's grab a kit here. I got one left. But I also have a couple of these. Okay, now zoom out a bit. Okay, I got a whole bunch of these extra ones here. Let's read what these are. So we're looking, the contrast should be 10K if I recall correctly. Yes, contrast 10K. So this one's already installed. So we'll max it out and just see if it reads 10K. And it reads 5.8K and 16. Well, that's not right. So I don't know if someone just put one in that would work, or I'm gonna take this out real quick. Okay, it's out. Now let's clean out the holes here. Now, of course, we are reading it resistance in circuit, and it could be affected. It very well may be a 10K pot, but with it being in circuit, could affect it. So let's check it out of circuit. That's the closed side. It is 10K. See? Lesson learned. You gotta check this stuff out of circuit. Okay, so we'll put this back in and we will adjust it to halfway point. Okay. And we'll go ahead and just solder it back in real quick. All right. Now, what's next? Brightness, I believe, is 500 ohms. No, I'm wrong. 2K. Brightness is 2K. Some of these, I think this is a neckboard pot. This is, oh, there's a 2K here, but I don't, Let's check it here. Yeah, 2K. So there's our brightness pot, but I think this came off a remote board, which is why it looks like this. This one here, I say it looks like that because they're different types here. You can see that they're different. This one has the footprint for the board to stick out this way like it's supposed to. But these are extra ones I pulled off of parts boards. This one is 10K. So there's our contrast pot, which I could replace, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep this one here. What's the other one I have here that's the right footprint? 220 ohms. So this is a 200 ohm pot. Which one of these is 200 ohms? Oh, vertical size, 200 ohm. Hey, look at that. Okay, well, there's one. Vertical size goes... I can't win. Vertical size goes here. Wait a minute, this is backwards. Vertical size goes here, but the legs are backwards. Man, I can't win for... I can't win for anything. This was 2K, which we're not going to use. Oh no, we can use it. That's brightness. This is vertical size, but it's the wrong footprint. Can I bend this the other way without the legs touching? I don't think so. No. I could obviously install it backwards, but that won't do anybody any good. Well, we'll have to go the alternate route, so I'll put that one in there. This one is 500K, and 500K is... vertical hold. This one we'll have to modify as well. So we got our brightness and vertical hold, vertical size. Here, let's just do this one at a time here. So this one is 2K, which is our brightness pot. So we're going to have to bend this leg this way and bend it out this way. So it looks something like this. And then take these and bend these in. And then bend these like so. And then we can put this in the board like this. I mean, they're supposed to be sticking out like this, but it's going to be sticking up, which is fine. But so then we take it and we put it in the board like so. And we'll put it halfway. And yeah, brightness is 2K, and if we look at the pot, it actually says, well, you can see it says 2K right there. So we'll put this in here. Solder it in. Now we need, what's next here? What does this one read? Now all these pots are meant to go in an actual physical remote board, and they're not meant to go directly in the chassis, so the legs don't always, the footprint's way wrong. So you have to bend all this stuff to get it to fit. Now I don't think I have a spare remote board, and even if I did, I don't have the harness here, and this is not one that has the right, you can't take, for instance, you can't just take these connections off of a donor chassis and put this harness on here, because the way that it's laid out is not the same on the connections here. So it's a different revision of the board. You'll see that this one says 1986. 1986. And the ones with those remotes are 1990. So remote wires, I should say. Okay. So if you got a board like this, you got to put the pots right on the board. So this one is 500 ohms. 500 ohms is vertical or horizontal position, and that goes here. So again, we'll put this in the middle position, and you can see I've already kind of bent the legs the way they need to be from previous installs on other boards. So we'll get this in here, and when you do this, the feet just barely come through. And you can, if you look here, they just barely come through the holes. So you have to solder it in there very carefully. It does work, so don't worry about that, but you got to make sure that at least some of the pin is through the hole so it has something to bite onto when you solder it in. And you can push on it a little bit when you do it. There we go. And if you ever have any doubt, you can simply put your meter in continuity mode and touch the leg of the pot and then touch the pad. Yep, it's good. So yeah, so there's our horizontal position. And what's next? We got 4 more. Let's this one here is 500K, and that is vertical holes. So again, we're going to have to bend our leg in and then fold it back, bend our legs in, fold them back, and you end up with something like that, and it goes right here. Vertical position was at 500. Vertical hold is 500K. So we go here with that. There it is. All right, put it back in the middle. All right. And yeah, I guess I might as well mention it. Sorry, you didn't see me solder it in, but I soldered it in. Arcade Parts and Repair sells these remote adjustment kits for the K7000, but again, it's meant for the remote board, so you have to bend the legs around to get them to fit in the actual PCB, but that's just how it goes, you know. So next we need a vertical size. Oh, we had a vertical size, but it was the wrong footprint. That's right. Yeah, there's no way to get that between those legs that'll touch them, so I can't use those pots. So I need a 200 ohm for vertical size. I need a 25K, which I think that's pretty much all of what these are. So I'm going to end up needing a 200 ohm and an... Oh, H-hold is not on here because it's not part of the remote board. Gonna have to find an H-hold pot. Ah, man, it's going to be tough on that one. I don't even know what it's supposed to be, but we'll start with 25K. And I realize you can't see, but this is 500 ohms here. This is a 500 ohm. We already had one of those. Yeah, that was horizontal position, so we'll put this back in the bag. Here, I'll just zoom out so you can see here. All right, I think all these are 25K. Yeah, 20, well, that's not, this is 500K. No, what in the heck? Let's turn that down a bit. 27K, well, I don't like that. That doesn't read right. That's weird. Yeah, there we go, 25K. So this one here we'll use as our pot. I think all these are 25K. Yeah, 25K and 27K. That's weird. All right, well, now we're going to have to figure out. I already got 2 pots missing from this kit that I've stolen for something, so we'll have to see if we can find the remaining 2 we need. Well, remaining 1, because I say H-hole we're not going to have in the kit. But, so again, here's how we have to do this. These ones are a bit trickier because the legs aren't as long, so you have to kind of fold this over to where it looks like that. Then we take the leg here and bend it out like so. And these two you flatten out, bend them in, then bend them out again. End up with something like that. And this one was what? 25K was vertical position. And this is going to go right here. And I'll put it in the middle. And there we have that one. And look, and then the legs, look how much better those are sticking out there on this one compared to that last one I did. So that's why it's important to get these. I can't get a shot of that. There it is. See how much more of these are sticking out compared to that last one? So that's why it's important to know the proper way to bend those legs. If you bend them properly, you got plenty of meat sticking out through the hole. If you don't bend them properly, it barely comes out through the hole and you have a tough time getting them to solder in. So there's no doubt with this one. All right, so now we just need vertical size, which was the 200 or 2K, right? No, 200 ohms. So one of these, I need to be 200 ohms. You know, I thought I had purchased a whole bunch more of these. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. I got a box here that I haven't opened yet from Arcade Parts and Repair. I think I've got extra of these kits in here. Yeah, I thought so. I got a whole bunch, or not a whole bunch, I guess. I got, I don't know, 2 or 3 of these kits in here, so okay. I thought so. All right, well now I don't feel as bad stealing from this one here. Actually, you know what? I completely forgot. I ordered. Oh man, I'm glad I opened this up. We don't even need this. This is, man, I'm not going to redo it, but I'm a complete dingbat because I completely forgot that I ordered the right pots with the right footprint. Wait, did I? Hang on. Maybe I didn't. Regardless, I'm still a nincompoop. No, I didn't. I thought I had ordered, see, these are the right pots for this footprint. These pots here. But I ordered a bunch of parts here to rebuild some neck boards and some vertical ICs and stuff. And I ordered pots for the neck board. but not for the main board. Ugh. Yeah, I got my heart set on putting the right ones in there, and it turns out that I did not get the right one. But what I do have in here are 200 ohm. One of these are 2K, other one is 200, and I just happen to need a 200. So let me grab one of the 200s, and you'll see that these are an exact match for the footprint. And I'm not sure which are which. Then we'll have to just figure out what H-hold is and find an H-hold pot. And then this will be ready for testing. This one here is $200. All right. It says 171, but it's not all the way turned up. So we'll put it halfway, and this will be our vertical size, and it just fits in there perfectly, right in there. Okay, well, this ended up saving us at least one pot. Now we got to figure out what the reading of that H-hold is, and we can do that by testing this one. And this H-hold pot, we'll have to take it out of the chassis to test it properly. Actually, does it say right on it? It does say it's 10K. Alright, so I need to find a 10K pot. And 10K was 10K was the contrast pot, which I thought I had one of those. Was it this one here that I couldn't use? Or was it? I think it was this one. I think it was this one. No, 500 ohms. I had one. I thought I had one. I can't use these anyway, but I'm just curious because I thought I had one. No, that's 200 ohms. This one. $10K. Yeah, this is a 10K one. Is there a way I can make this work? I don't think that I can. Unless I installed it backwards. But that would just be ridiculous. Because you could install it backwards and still adjust it. I mean, it looks ridiculous, but it would work. You just turn it the opposite direction for up or down. But there's not going to be any way that I can bend this middle one completely the other direction, not have it touch the outside legs. So I think what I want to do here is we'll go ahead and just put it in backwards, set it to the middle position, and we'll just put it in backwards for now. And it fits right in. And we'll just have to adjust it backwards and order the correct pots, replace them later. This is, let me reiterate, this is just so I can get this tested and see if it's working. I can always put the right pots in later. So I think that does it for our initial operation testing here for the main board. And, okay, we know the flyback's not going to explode on us as soon as we turn it on, which it shouldn't. It should work for at least a little bit. So we don't got to worry really too much about having a fuse in there versus our circuit breaker. We'll put all of our color pots in the center position just for a baseline test, and we I don't need to do any repair to the neck board. All of this looks okay. Our ground wire is about to break off. So let's add a little flux and reinforce that. And I'll show you how I strain relief this stuff so this doesn't happen in the future. Okay, that's good. So what I always do is you got one, this one goes off to the main chassis here like this, and the hardware's missing, but I always take these two and I put a zip tie around here, and now you got a strain relief so they won't break off of the board when you wiggle them around. So now when you go like this, they wiggle at the joint here where the zip tie is and not off of the board and break off. So that's a good idea to get into when you're doing this. And also, once everything's back together, I zip tie all this stuff together also. But we'll take our G2 wire. If you're not familiar, you got two wires that come off of the flyback. Never bother even paying attention to the color. The color of the wires does not matter. It's the size of the wire. So you got a thin wire and a thick wire. The thick wire is always the next socket focus wire. The thin wire is always the G2 wire that goes to the board. Disregard the color completely. The color does not matter. And I see now that I'm missing, come on guys. This whole, I gotta replace the next socket. This whole thing is falling apart here. Come on. Seriously? It's also missing the... Come on, guys. What? It make my life... I say guys, I just mean, you know, the general we, whoever, people. Come on, people. Now I gotta replace this next socket, which I have some, but I mean, come on. And it won't take but a minute. What I was saying was it's missing the little cap here that keeps the focus wire installed. If that wasn't bad enough, the whole thing is all loose and falling apart. I don't think the person that took it apart knew how to take the focus wire out. Now, of course, this is not a slight at all against the person who sent me these, because I don't know the history. I think he said he had these as spares. I don't think he ever actually worked on them. I don't recall the exact situation of how he came across them, but I don't think he did any work to them. It was somebody else. He just happened to have them and asked if I was interested in you know, taking them off his hands, and I said sure. So I don't know who did this or how it came to be like this, but I don't think it was my friend. This should just come right off. These are all loose, yet somehow it's not coming out. There we go. Okay, garbage it is. I actually have a couple of ones here. We could use this one. Yeah, let's put this one in there. Actually, you know, well, I got a brand new one. Let me put a brand new one in there. Let's do that. That one was a used one. Let's just put a new one in there, and then we don't have to worry about any problems. So, I like a glove. Okay. Tack one in. There we go. Go through and do the rest. Really? There you go. You gotta do this at an angle, otherwise the damn solder flows up the leg and onto the other side of the board. Kind of like what I was saying with that flyback. Still does it. Okay. Now, I think that'll do it. Let's get this in here. Oh, nope, I gotta solder that one in there. Fold out the tabs on the side, the top lifts open, and put this through the hole, and get a little solder on here, and solder this puppy in. Okay. Put the cover back on. Plug this into here. Plug this into here. I need hardware here to install that ground. And there we have a K7000 ready for testing after all of that work. So, okay, we'll put our parts one in the closet for now. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to cut away, get all this cleaned up, and get this on the tube and back to a point to where when I'm ready to turn it on, we'll just cut right back. So hang on a moment. Okay, so we're all hooked up, ready to go. We got our anode, neck, yoke, ground, power, video. There's no remote board, obviously. All the pods are on the board, so everything's hooked up. And I mentioned before I like to zip tie all this together, but not until I verify it's working, because if something happens where it has to come apart again, I don't want to have to cut all the zip ties and waste them. So that'll be done as part of the process when I get done cleaning it and recapping it and changing all these caps out to the Nichicon ones and things like that off camera. But so we're ready to go. All the pots are center position, so it shouldn't cause any problems just turning it on the way that it is. And we have a trusty Mortal Kombat 2 PCB on the bench that you can't see. Lights off, obviously, so we can see the tube here. But all right, is it going to explode? Is it going to work? Is it going to do something unexpected? I don't know. Let's find out here. 1, 2, 3. Ooh. That doesn't sound good. I don't know if you heard that. It sounded like a high-pitched screeching. I'll turn it on again here real quick. 1, 2, 3. Oh. Now it didn't do it. And now it's working. Well, that was weird, but that's not normal. I wonder what that high-pitched screeching was there when I first tried it. Well, vertical hold here. Let's adjust vertical hold. Oh, there we go. It's a bit touchy, but it works. Oh, and it's bouncing around. I think that pot needs some cleaning here. Vertical hold pot. Let's go ahead and just spray this cleaner on here. And then wipe it back and forth. Let's do the same thing with that brightness pot that's all dark too. These have been exposed to some heat because they're all discolored. Okay, let's try that again here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I don't know what that high-pitched screeching noise was, that first power-up. Still doing this thing. Let's adjust our V-hold again. Yeah, that pot. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Okay, there's that H position pot. We need to adjust that, which I need the driver for. Let me get the camera on the tripod here. Well, it's on the tripod. Let me get the tripod extended. Well, it's working. I mean, that's good. We got to make some major adjustments here, but sorry for the terrible camera work. But again, this is the amateur channel. Okay. So, where's the driver that I just used? I just used it. Where did it go? Here it is. Why do I put that stuff up there? Okay. H position. Let's go to menu, diagnostic tests, monitor patterns, crosshatch. It shouldn't look like this because all the color pots are dead center, and the tube is basically brand new from a commercial television tube swap. And we need to adjust our H hold, which is that backwards pot. Wait a minute, what the heck? I forgot to solder in the H hold pot. 1 second. 1 second. All right, let's try again. I'm sure some of you were screaming at the camera, or at the screen, whatever you're watching this on. Hey, you big dummy, you forgot to solder an H hold pot. That might have been what that screeching noise was, the oscillation screaming at me when I first turned it on, then kind of settled down maybe, I don't know. But let's turn it back on, 1, 2, 3. Okay, comes right back on. I went to adjust H hold and the whole pot moved. I'm like, oh crap. Okay, well, that's better. Let's go ahead and go into the menu again. Diagnostic test, monitor patterns, crosshatch. There we go, that's better. Okay, so now let's go ahead and hit the H position again. And that seems okay for now. But, okay, so here's the process. We turn our contrast all the way down. We turn our brightness all the way down. Oh, yep, all the way down. Brightness all the way down, contrast all the way down. Then we turn up our screen pot until we get our raster lines. Well, that was weird. There we go. Now let's adjust our focus a bit. Ah, glorious. Okay, now turn the flyback screen pot back down until the raster lines just go away. Roughly there. Then we turn up our brightness pot until the background is not black anymore, which is roughly there. And then back down until the background just goes black, which is roughly there. Then we turn up our contrast pot as needed. Okay, that's not bad there. And yeah, I think that'll work. So vertical position needs to come down a bit. There it is. And does vertical size work? Yes, it does. We'll put it roughly there. So you want the red, well, on this particular setup, you want the red just at the top of the screen and the black, or I'm sorry, the red just at the top of the screen where there's no black in between the red and the actual visible area. Same thing at the bottom, and you want that on the outside too. However, we're too wide, so let's make sure our width control width coil actually operates. And if I could read, I'd grab the right container here. All right, so we'll grab our width adjustment tool and turn the width pot other way, And we're going in, and jackpot. So there's our properly adjusted image. That looks pretty good. Well, as far as size. And our black level and things, our colors are still a little bit off. I can tell it's a bit too blue just from looking at the black screen here. But yeah, look at that, that's much better. Main menu. We need to readjust our focus now that we have contrast turned up. Oh man, that's glorious. I love these new TVs here. Well, new, but like I say, I stole this out of a commercial television, and it's basically a brand new 7000 monitor now, so, okay. Damn, that's good. And, nice, alright. It looks much better in person. Oh, those colors are perfect. A little bit too blue, I guess. We'll turn the blue down slightly. Yeah, that pot is pretty scratchy. But I think that looks pretty darn good. I wish you could see it in person, but if I maybe, I don't know, in person it looks fantastic. In camera it looks a little green. Now it looks a little better. The over focus or over saturation's kind of gone away, but the red looks like it needs to come up slightly. I'm gonna turn the red up a little bit. Not the bias, the cutoff. There we go. Turn the red cutoff up a little bit. That looks fantastic. Yeah, if you have a really good strong tube, you should be able to have all the color pots relatively in the center position for it to look really good like this. And that's what we did. So if you ever, oh, that really goes out of focus, doesn't it? Holy crap. Man. Well, you're gonna, there, that's better. This camera's not any good. But yeah, with the, with this tube being so good, I was able to put all the color pots pretty much in the center position and have it be fantastic. So, oh, come on. I can't do any fatalities with just 3 buttons. Well, I mean, I could, but I'm not going to worry about it. So there we go. First K7000 up and running. Off camera, I am going to finish the reflow, recap it, clean it up, all that jazz, change the pots back out to all the ones like this that fit the right footprint, the black one there, and then, yeah, I'll tie all this up and finish this up. So let's move on to K7000 number 2. Well, and here we have number 2. One thing I want to iterate right off the bat is that I forgot to mention in the first one that one of the key component areas that you want to focus on when you do your reflow, is the horizontal width coil. It's notorious for these joints here to be somewhat under soldered, and they again create lots of heat, which increases amps, and I've actually seen this entire area of the board completely burn itself alive. So when you do your reflow, you want to also concentrate on, or not forgetting to do the horizontal width coil solder joints as well. So I'm putting that out there. And you'll see here that this particular model has D18 on the bottom side of the board and an extra cap in the spot where D18 would normally be on the top side of the board. That's just a factory mod on this particular revision of the chassis. And there's so many different revisions as they go through the years that you'll see oddball stuff like that. Now the reason it's on the bottom is because they put a cap here in the top position to aid in the horizontal circuit, and there's no room for D18 on the top now, so they've installed it on the bottom from the factory. So if you see this on the bottom of the board, and there's a cap in that spot, this is a factory mod, so don't go crazy if you ever see that. But this one here is complete. Was this the one with the broken pad? No, that's the first one. So this looks good. We have all of our pots intact. None of them are broken. Obviously, someone replaced the contrast pot in the past because it must have been broken previously. But I don't see any missing components. The flyback's been changed. The holder here for the wires is loose, which I can fix that, but we need to take it apart here to do that. There we go. Oh, the locator pin is busted off. Ah. Someone broke the locator pin. Don't worry, I've located it. It's right there. That's okay. We'll tighten this up and it'll be all right. Okay, there we go. And wherever the hell every time I put my screwdriver down here, I put it somewhere new and never remember where I put it. Okay, that'll be good. So unlike the last one, this one's complete. It's been fully recapped, looks like with Nichicon caps, except for the 3 bipolar caps for the color circuit, which I got plenty of those. We'll change those. I do want to replace this oxidized looking fuse holder part here. And of course there's a bunch of bad solder work on the bottom, which we'll have to fix that up too. Now this is going to get hot here, so we'll do it quick, just like that. And it's out. Okay. So like the last one, I'm not going to go through and really worry about. I showed you what to do on the first chassis about the reflow work and the inspection work and all that. So I'm not going to go through and do any of that on this one. As long as everything is connected and intact and reading properly, we're just going to go ahead and do our light bulb test and then try it out. Because this one it looks to be complete. So assuming that nothing is wrong with it being completely intact, I think I'm going to go ahead and change these 3 bipolar caps. But otherwise, if everything tests okay after changing these out and inspecting solder joints, if it's all good, then we'll just go ahead and throw it on a tube and test it. Because we don't need to go over everything again like we did in the first one with this one, as long as everything's okay. So I'm going to take this one and keep it. But for now, I'm going to steal one out of this chassis and swap it over. I'm going to keep this one and install it in here, just in case, in the future I need one. Actually, I can't do that one. It has to be, no, I can turn it around. Yeah, I can turn it around, okay. There's a little end here that indicates what side the fuse is supposed to be on, so yeah, I can, there we go. Yeah, I can do it both ways, that's fine. It can go in there both ways, all right. Oh, come on, you rotten scoundrel. Ruprecht. All right, that'll hold that in there. Now I have a spare that I can clean up in the future if I need to, no big deal. And this one needs to go this way specifically. Got it. And this will be a good example of what the solder joints look like on a dried and brittle R104, because looking at this, they're pretty dry and brittle. And this fuse was in fact a 2 amp, but I want to clean it up here a little bit. I don't have my Scotch-Brite pad, but simply going like this should do the trick. So, okay. I want to flatten out this cap that wasn't installed right. There we go. That's good. Okay, so everything looks all right. Now, looks like the filter cap's been changed to 200 volt 560. That seems fine. But let me show you R104 here. Look at this. See it moving? And again, see that? That's from this being over and touching it like that for a long time. So, but look at the solder joints. Here's an example of R104 and its classically bad solder joints. Right there. So, yeah, R104, like I mentioned before, is definitely one you want to hit. So we'll do that right now, because this will be dead as a doornail with that being out of circuit. And R89, same story. It's not loose, but man, oh man, that solder joint is super thin. And like I say, I always take all the original solder off and redo all this, which I'll do off camera. You saw my method just a moment ago on the other one, so that's fine. R89 is intact. R101, I'm sorry, R89 we just did. R101 seems okay. R96 is decent. Our ribbon cable joints are okay. Flyback joints are okay. H coil's okay. Voltage regulator, R104. R103. Okay, initial inspection seems like everything is good enough just to at least try it. So don't need to worry about that for now, but well, let's go through and test all of our components in our power circuit like we always do as a refresher, and just so you can see how I always do it. We'll do it again. Okay. All right, R103. 2.6, good. D19, D20, D21, D22, D24, D23, 15 ohms for R104, that's good. About 5K for R101, that's good. 270 for R, is it 97? Yeah, R97. I always forget that one. 271. R88 should be 1.8K. R96 should be 1.8K. R89 should be 3.9K. That's good, 3.8. Okay. B plus should be 180 ohms. Yeah, 177. So again, all that means is the voltage regulator is not shorted. It doesn't mean that it's good. So I guess that's everything on the top side. Yeah. This, those, that, these, this. Okay. HOT. Good. Critical safety cap. Good. D18. Good. C38 width cap. Shorted. No. Wait. That's the wrong. Ha! That's off the width. Sorry. That's the this here's the resistor that's coming off of the linearity coil. These two pads are the width cap. Sorry. Yeah. Not shorted. That's fine. Okay, well, that's all I really am interested in testing here. We can test R91, R92, 1.8. Come on. 1.4, those are fine. You know, we did it last time, might as well do it this time. D, I think this is 13. Yeah, that's fine. D14. Yeah, that's fine. It's normal for D14 to read about 0.3 instead of 0.4 because the flyback's installed. So, well, this particular chassis has the extra cap and diode down in here, which we can test those. I forget what those are called, but we're just checking to make sure that it's not shorted. So if we go across the cap here, it's not shorted. Go back to diode mode. That's fine. So those are good. Well, that's everything that we really need to test. And given that all tests okay, we can desolder the leg of the collector leg of the HOT and do our light bulb test. This is supposed to be... Oh, well, what the heck? This one's missing the piece too. Oh man, these people don't know how to remove these things and they damage them. I thought I had an extra one of those laying around somewhere. Well, I don't want to... I don't want to have to sacrifice a whole nother... Oh, look at this. I knew I had one laying around somewhere. You tried to hide it, but I found it. So let's bend that in place and put this here. And since the flyback has been changed, they got the small wire in the G2 and the large wire in the next socket. That's good. And let's put all these color pots to center. Okay, let's desolder that collector on the HOT, and again, just like the last one, I'm going to go ahead and put a zip tie here. And everything looked okay on this neck board. That should take care of that. Let's do our light bulb test, and then we'll put... Then we can... I'm just looking at the yoke header pin solder joints. They're okay for now. And then we can change out these caps and then put it on the tube and try it. So let's desolder our HOT collector pin. And again, if you're wondering why I do this, desoldering the HOT collector pin will prevent the horizontal circuit from firing up, which will prevent the flyback from energizing, which will prevent you from getting shocked by high voltage. So that's, and also will let us do our light bulb test. So there's the pad, there's the pin. We are desoldered. Okay. Well, is it going to work? It should. Our tests indicate that it should. So if we connect again to the blue wire and the frame, put our meter on volts DC, and this one doesn't have a connector on it, and it's all kind of haggard here. Doesn't mean we can't just shove the wires in the deal here. Do this at your own discretion. Don't do what I'm doing. But that should work. Okay, now, all right, well, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Okay, let's put our negative there, hold it with some tension, and our voltage should be about 128 or so. There we go, perfect. And it again jumps up to 129.5 or so with the actual tube. And there we go. Now sometimes you have to worry about, depending on what chassis you're working on, you know, you have to worry about the filter cap zapping you, like the K7000 and stuff, but when you have the bulb hooked up on the circuit, it will actually act as a discharger and discharge the caps and stuff. With the bulb being a load on the circuit, it'll discharge the caps. So when you turn the system off and wait a few seconds before you disconnect the bulb, it'll discharge everything to where you can handle it properly. So not much to worry about there. And if you work on these and you're scared to do so, you know, if you have any questions or like maybe I shouldn't touch that, maybe I don't know what I'm doing, then you probably shouldn't touch that and you don't know what you're doing. If you have questions, ask, but obviously take precautions. Don't do something you don't think you should do if you have questions or are scared or, you know, not sure as to what your actions should be. Don't just assume and ask. That's most important. Because all these videos I make are not necessarily to be considered tutorials. You may consider them tutorials, but take that with a grain of salt because situation is different. Each person's different. Each method is different. Each person does their own thing. This is just my methods. You're not really meant to emulate these, so to speak. perfectly, but it's just a guide as to help you troubleshoot your issues. You know, disclaimer. So, all right, let's resolder in that HOT, change these 3 caps out, and we'll try it out. If I knew how to do this, there we go. And I don't have to actually, you know what? Those are fine. Well, no, actually, if I don't do it now, I'm gonna forget. One, 2, 3. Those are 25 volt, 10 microfarad bipolar caps. And I actually have a whole bunch of them because you wouldn't believe the number of people who cap these boards and don't change out those bipolar caps, or these 3 bipolar caps. I don't know why. I don't know where they're getting their kits from or what they're doing, but they don't ever change those out. So that's why I have a whole bunch here for just such an occasion. And they're bipolar, so it doesn't matter which way they go in. You can put them in this way or that way, short leg to the right, long leg to the right, doesn't matter. They are not polarized. Put this back. So I'm curious if this is just going to work right off the bat. I bet it will. I don't know why. I mean, obviously there must be some type of problem or it wouldn't have been included with the rest of these, but I don't know. Maybe it's got vertical collapse. If we checked the 4 main components over here, D13, 14, R91, and 92, so if it has collapse, it could be an issue with the vertical IC here, which no one ever clipped the legs off of it from the factory. They're too long. But all right, well, we checked all the power rails. Our light bulb test is good. All of our solder joints are good enough to be able to have this operate. Neck board's in good shape after putting that missing piece back in. Pots are all okay. I don't see any other missing components, unless the flyback is faulty, which I never really bothered to inspect it for cracks or anything. It seems all right. I don't see any evidence of arcing over here. Well, let's get it on the tube and let's try this one. See how it goes. All right, so number 2 is now on the tube, ready for testing. We got our anode neck, yoke ground power video, and again, there's no remote. The pots are on the board. And as I was hooking this up, I was thinking that most likely what happened was, and the reason this was included in the non-working pile, as I say that, I realized that I didn't put any of these pots to center position, but that was all the way up. I think the reason this was put in the pile of non-working stuff that was part of this 3 chassis lot was because that R104 was out of circuit. That bad solder joint on R104 likely was keeping this from powering up, and that was completely dead, and they did the flyback and the cap kit and the reflow and all the stuff they did to it, but never really reflowed R104 and noticed that it was out of circuit, and that would keep this dead. They redid R89, they redid R101, but they didn't redo R104. So I'm assuming that if this operates and functions as advertised, then I think maybe that R104 was out of circuit. But I don't know. We'll find out. Again, MK2 is plugged in, so let's see what happens. Cross our fingers. Hopefully we're 2 for 2 here. Let's find out. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Comes on. Nothing blew up. And there you go. 50-60 hertz pot is in desperate need of adjustment, but let's get this back on the ground here so we can witness what's happening. All right, we'll go into our menu like always. Diagnostic test, monitor patterns, crosshatch. Okay. So, first things first here, let's adjust our 50-60 hertz pot. And roughly there. Okay, vertical size. Again, we want the red boxes to be just at the top and bottom of the viewable area. Roughly there. Perfect. Okay, H position needs to go over this way. And we're way too wide. We'll split it right there. Let's grab our horizontal tool. Horizontal adjustment tool again. I had put it away from previously so I didn't lose it or damage it or anything like that. And we'll get in here and adjust this horizontal coil. Other way. H position. That's pretty good there. And not perfect, but doesn't matter because this is not staying on the tube. But I just want to verify that everything is adjusting, working, and filling the screen and all that. So we're good there. Okay. Nothing has exploded or burned up yet. So again, here's the procedure. Brightness and contrast completely down. Fly back up until we get raster lines. Okay, back down till they just go away, roughly there. Brightness back up until our background is no longer black. There, and then back down till it just goes black, which is roughly there. Contrast up as needed. I'll say roughly there. Let's readjust our focus now. I'll say there. Okay. Nice. Oh man, that's good. Exit. And, okay, a little bit too dark, but that's fine. Brightness right about there. Man, and that's with all the color pots in the center position. It just looks so good in person. It never looks that good in camera. If I get closer, it looks better. Yeah, it's much better in up close. When I move back, it just looks kind of a little bit more washed out and the colors aren't right. But trust me, in person it looks phenomenal. The reds are deep red. It doesn't look that way through the camera here. Well, see, when I do this, I'm talking about through the viewfinder. I don't know if the video will come out like this, what it looks like through the viewfinder, but in person it's phenomenal. If anything, it's a little bit too blue like the last time. Let's turn the blue cutoff down a bit. Let's wait for the next screen here. Yeah, right about there. Let's turn our green cutoff up a little bit and our red. Man, that looks so freaking good. In person, anyway. Alright, well, I say we are 2 for 2. Time to get number 3 out and see how number 3 goes. Well, and here we have number 3. And again, just like number 2, it's complete, although it's just a bit haggard in its condition. So first things first is this horizontal oscillation mod, this factory mod over here. That was all bent over, so let's put that kind of back in position. It's got just like the first one. The first one's got like a hodgepodge of Nichicon and then this off-brand stuff that I don't know. There's no brand on it, unless someone out there knows what brand those are. And we had the 470 microfarad cap here yanked out, so I'll have to change that out. So it's been kind of rough handled, but it is complete. R104 is bent way out of whack. I am absolutely blown away that there's not more damage and things like that to this from being in that box without any protection whatsoever. It's just crazy. Not a single broken pot. That to me is the most amazing thing about this here. But we need to remove this, and I think we already checked the fuse and made sure the fuse was 2 amps, so that's good. Not sure why. This must have been installed in a machine that didn't have a frame or a piece of wood or something that this was attached to, because it has this foot on there. We'll get rid of that. And the shutdown pot's been changed out, so I think this was having shutdown issues. And the corner over here is busted, but that doesn't matter because it's just one big trace here. This is all one big trace. That broken corner doesn't mean anything. Don't have to fix that. And this has been reworked also. Somebody has redone this jumper here for R89. They've redone the jumper here like the first one for R101. So that's all good. We won't have to worry about doing that for testing purposes. They've reflowed the video input header pins. Flyback's been changed out. And R103's been reflowed. This looks like it's in pretty good shape. Quite honestly, R104 has been reflowed. Filter cap's been changed. The yoke header pins have been reflowed. Looks like the voltage regulator's been changed out. Yeah, it seems to be in decent condition. I'm not going to have to really do any reflow on this before we work on it. I'm sorry, before we test it. That's all good, yeah. And no broken pots on the neck board. No broken pots on the remote board. This is the only one with the remote board. H-hold pot's not broken. I'm just completely blown away. So it looks like all we're going to have to do, I did mention someone's changed out C38, so I'm wondering about that. But it looks like all we're going to have to do is replace this cap. And there's an oddball insulator here for the HOT, so we'll have to check that, make sure it's not shorted. And we'll have to fix this busted trace on this, neck board transistor. If we look here, this trace here is broken completely right there. But that's no big deal because I can actually do some magic here, real quick sleight of hand. And if you watch here, ta-da, fixed. Just like that. So that's good. Okay, let's change this cap out. Yeah, oops. That should be inside there. So let me grab a 470 microfarad cap here, which I've got plenty of those too. I got everything. I've got 90,000. How's it going? I got 90,000 something in my something. I got 40,000 French francs in my fridge. I've got lots of lovely lira now. The Deutschmark's getting dear, and my dollar bills could buy the Brooklyn Bridge. There is nothing quite as wonderful as money. There is nothing quite as beautiful as cash. Some people say it's folly, but I'd rather have the lolly. With money you can make a splash. There is nothing like a newly minted pound. I forget how the rest of that song goes. I guarantee that nobody out there is going to have any idea what that song is or where it came from. But if you do, props to you. Okay. Put this back. All right, well, I think that's it for the repairs. Oh, nope, this busted off. The ground wire busted off here because no one put a strain relief on there, and the main CRT ground looks like it's okay. And let's tin this guy up. It shouldn't need any, I shouldn't need any flux for this wire. Nope, it's good. Alright, so now what we can do is we'll just solder it straight to the back of this. Heat this up first. And there we go. Now we need to tie these together, and they'll never break off again unless you are trying to break it off on purpose. I haven't heard that Money song in so long I forgot how most of it goes, but that's all right. Okay, let's bend these up a bit. Okay. Well, I think that is it for repairs. So let's go through, assuming nothing is bad, we can test this one out real quick and we'll be 3 for 3. Let's move these away. You don't want these resistors touching each other because they generate a lot of heat and they'll just induce heat onto the other ones next to it and cause problems. So, okay. That being said, visually it all seems okay. All right, well, here we go. Are we gonna end up being 3 for 3? Let's find out. If, oh, someone's replaced R103. That's a new resistor. That explains why the solder joints are reflowed. Okay, we're looking for 2.7 ohms. 2.8, close enough. Diode mode, D19, D20, D21, D22, D24, D23. Solder joints for the thermistor are good. 15 ohms. Yep. 5K ohm. Yep. 1.8. 1.8. 3.9. Close enough. 3.8. It's within tolerance. 270. Yep. 180. Yep. Okay. HOT. Good. Critical safeties. Good. D18. Good. D13 or 14. I forget which one this is. D13, 14. That's fine. The other diode is fine. R91. R92. Okay, C38 width cap. Not shorted. Well, yeah, this one has the diode in the cap over here, so uh-oh. 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 That shouldn't read that. Uh-oh. Yeah, you can see in here there's an extra poly cap, and there's a diode underneath that poly cap. Not every 7000 has that. The very first one we worked on didn't have that. So it's important that you check it. If you look in there, you see that this one doesn't have those. It's not in there. But this one does have that in there. Right in there. So, yeah. Either that cap is shorted or the diode's bad. So what we need to do is probably just pull one leg of that cap out. I'm glad I checked those. That's why you check all this stuff, because you know something out of the norm is very possible. And let's just pull this leg of the cap out. And if it still reads shorted on the pads, then it's the diode. If it doesn't, then it's the cap. And let's grab this, lift this out of there, and let's see what it reads now. Yep, there you go, bad cap. And I forget what cap this is. We'll look when we pull it out of here. Okay, and I think that should be properly open enough to get a new one in there. It was. I made it worse, but there we go. So we got a 0.15K 100 volt cap, and it's dead short. Look at that. Wow. And just so you can see, oh, camera went crazy there, sorry. You put this in the component tester, it's going to read as a resistor. The question though is that I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm not sure that I have a replacement. Yeah, I do. Okay, I got a 7000A here that has the cap in there. So, I was going to say, I don't think I had a replacement that I could use for that, but... Alright. These caps aren't polarized, so it doesn't matter which leg you attach to what, but... You're going to see here that if I test this, it'll read as a resistor. Or maybe you won't. There you go. Yep, resistor. 0.34 ohms. And that's not something you normally check. I don't see a lot of people checking that, but case in point, that's why you got to check that stuff. Darn, camera keeps moving. Sorry about that. So, what do we do about this? Well, let's see if we can steal the one off of here. Which, oh, by the way, that cap is C7, the C37. C37. So let's steal this one off of this 7000A. I don't even know why this is in the parts pile. Somebody sent me like a dozen of these 7000As, and none of them have a neck board. So it's possible that a lot of these would work, but the lot that I got these in, not a single one of them had a neck board. So I just tossed them all in the, well, I tossed most of them downstairs in a box in the monitor dungeon, but a couple of them I threw over here in the parts closet for just this type of occasion. Because nobody wants to use these 7000As. So they make good spare. Yep, C37. They make good parts chassis. Yep, 154K, 100 volts. So let's get this puppy in here. Footprint, same footprint. All right. I noticed that this is on the wrong side. There's a little notch here. The notch should be in the hole on the underside. Someone installed this on the top side because it's supposed to prevent it from moving with this notch on the underside of the heatsink, but it's fine like it is. And I expected this to go in easily. And how much of a fool am I? The answer is a large fool. And yes, that's a fat joke. I recently became addicted to making bank transactions. But I went to the bank yesterday and realized how much I was addicted to it when the bank was closed And I was going through withdrawals all day. There we go. Okay, let's check it. And we're good. Okay, let's get on a tube and cross our fingers and see if we're 3 for 3. This one had a bad C37. I don't think the second one had any problems other than just needing a little bit of a tune-up. And we all know number one had lots of issues, so I'm assuming this is going to work, but is there anything else that we need to do prior to testing this? All of the pots are good. Those are good. Everything else is fine. Got that cap changed out. We may need to adjust our shutdown, but we'll see if it even powers up first. But okay, let's get this on a tube and see if we're 3 for 3. Well, and here we have number 3 all hooked up. We got our anode neck, yoke ground power video, and this time we actually have a remote board. And all the color pots on the neck board are set to center, but I didn't mess with really any of these, so we'll just see how it is from having them like this. And I did notice that the filter cap had been replaced on this one too, and it's good to go as far as visually, and I mean it's the right rating and everything. So, and I realize now, as we're talking, I forgot to verify that the HOT insulator was okay. However, it didn't really check the ground, so seems all right. But I think with that C37 being shorted, it definitely would have killed it, put it in the shutdown mode or something. But let's go ahead and just see if it works. Then we'll have to hook up our meter and verify that the shutdown pot is set to 9.8 volts since that was changed out and messed with. So let's just see if it turns on and what it does. Oh, got a bit overzealous here and forgot to hook up the MK2, which we can remedy right now. Okay. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Well, came on. And it works. Vertical hold. Oh, geez. Contrast is way too bright, and we're way too tall. And we're way too wide. Not too wide, I guess, but let's see what we can do here. Okay. Let's see what kind of magic we can work here. Okay, we'll start with contrast all the way down, brightness all the way down, screen voltage up until we get raster lines, back down till they just go away, brightness up until we get a background that's not black anymore, which is not, back down till it just goes black, which is roughly there. Contrast up to wherever we want it to be. That's pretty good, but we need to go into the menu and diagnostic test, monitor patterns, crosshatch, and we're bouncing around a little bit. So I'm going to turn off that, spray some contact cleaner on the hold pot, wipe it back and forth 1,000 times. Okay, turn it back on. There we go. And it's still bouncing a little bit. Yeah, we'll leave it for a minute, but let's adjust our focus here. A little bit out of focus. That's good there. Wow, okay. Okay, it stopped bouncing. Oh, no, a little bit every so often it's doing it. I'm not going to worry about that too much right now. Tests. Alright, so each position, right about there. Vertical size. That's pretty good. We're at the bottom of the viewable area. Top of the viewable area, got the red, that's good. H-hole needs to be adjusted slightly. There we go. Now we got to redo position a little bit. Okay. All right, now let's adjust our width, make sure it's good. We're looking for the red to appear on the sides. There we go. Okay. I think we're 3 for 3, boys and girls. The bouncing is, it's still there ever so slightly, but I do need to reflow it and all that stuff, so I'm not going to worry too much about that now. But if we go back to the menu and exit out of here. Okay, it's too green. We got to turn the brightness up a little bit. And it's too green, so we'll turn the green drive down. Ah, beautiful. Blue cutoff up a little bit. That's better. Brightness up again a little bit. A little bit too bright now. Still a little bit too green, I think. And then we'll turn our contrast up. Well, there you go. I think we are 3 for 3. Again, it looks so much better in person, but that is great. Our linearity is slightly off. I don't know if you can see. Ever so slightly, it's to the right by about like a, I don't know, an eighth of an inch or so. That top of that hole should be dead center in the clock, and it's that way just ever so slightly, and we can fix that by adjusting the H-hold. We can turn our H-hold ever so slightly, and that'll bring the image over this way. There we go. And oh, at least a little bit more. What do you think about that? That's pretty good. Yeah, great. We didn't compromise our position or anything. It's still equidistant. Guys and gals, we've got 3 working 7000s now. So, that's about it. I need to go through and tie up all the wires and harnesses on all these for the neck board wires I talked about. I need to recap the first board, go through, do some more cleanup and reflow on all 3 of these. All the normal stuff, but everything I mentioned. But yeah, I think that's good to go. So yeah, otherwise I hope you learned something. Thanks for sticking with this whole video. It didn't end up being too long, but fairly long. So otherwise, yeah, as always, thank you very much. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below what you thought if you have any questions or anything, and I'll be sure to answer them. And otherwise, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.